What's going on, YouTube? It's a Pisces Life back with another video. And today's title, which I'm going to talk about, is why Pisces pull away after deep conversations. I'm going to break it down for y'all, but first I want to put a disclaimer out that the information I'm about to give y'all may or may not apply, so just take what it does and feel free to smash that like button. Tune in for the next videos. Now, when it comes to Pisces, all right, shout out to all my fellow Pisceans out there, gang, you already know we in the building. So I'm gonna break it down to y'all. Now, if you ever talk to a Pisces for hours, it could be anyone from your mother, your family member, your friend. Just imagine that moment where you was just in tune, locked in, and you could have been talking about like some interesting things, some meaningful things. But then all of a sudden they disappeared. And I'm gonna tell you why. And I'm gonna break it down for y'all, which most of you may already know, but I'm still going to tell you my theory. Now, first thing is the emotional overload. See, that's a lot to be on the phone or just lollygagging. And you know, at school, doesn't matter where it's at, who it's with. But if you put a lot of time and invest in, let's say you having a long conversation with a Pisces, they can experience an emotional overload. Now, this goes for the men and the women. Another thing is escapism. They also could be testing your energy, and it could also be real life experiences and responsibilities. They may have kids, they may have, other things that they have to handle first before they get to you. So I'm gonna break it down for y'all, and I'm also gonna tell you guys what not to do. Now, what you wanna do is you wanna keep a mystery when you're dealing with a Pisces. You can't just give it all up on the first take, because it's gonna be times when a Pisces is going to, be invested, and then it's gonna be a time where either they're busy or they could just be testing your energy. So don't look affected by this. Don't be affected. Don't, chase. Don't become even more, it's already enough interest in itself from the first time you guys talk for hours, let alone you don't want to overdo it, because that is what leads to the emotional overload. Now, I'm gonna break this down for y'all, okay? Now, let's keep it real, okay? Let's talk about the realness of the situation. All right, now, when it comes to transformation is what this video is for, and I just want to show you guys, if you've ever been in a situation like this, now you'll understand it better, and you won't be in the dark about it. So why would a Pisces talk to you for hours and then go silent? Some may say ghost. Okay, so as I mentioned, we talked about the emotional overload. So if a Pisces man or female, if they feel too much during the conversation, they may pull back. See, now the reason why is because the Pisces may have witnessed or noticed that both of you just talked about some, meaningful things, some personal things, some deep things, everything all at once. Now, both Pisces, or it could be one Pisces, they may need space to process everything that was just spoken about. See, so you just gotta wait and give that Pisces some time, some headroom. Now, another thing is a Pisces could have opened up, especially a Pisces female. She could have opened up more than she was comfortable with. So if she feels any sort of vulnerability, that could all hit her all at once, once the call ended. And she may just simply be asking herself, oh, did I say too much? Did I touch on something that I probably shouldn't have? So it's like, you got to understand that it's not always about you. It could also be about her going through something, overthinking things, thinking things out, processing, filtering, aside from being on the phone with you again. So another thing, she could just simply be tired, okay? She can need time alone to charge. Maybe because of the whole, her being private, maybe living a private, introverted or extroverted lifestyle, maybe she decide decided to take a break. You know, just as you guys know, charging the cell phone from time to time needs to get charged after, you know, some use. So that social energy within her can drain very fast. And this will oftentimes make her do the same behavior where she might pull back or just disappear until the next day. Now, if she disappears the next day, she might just be doing it to reset mentally. So don't take it personal. Now, another thing is that she could get caught up in her real life responsibilities. Let's say she might have kids, she might have school, she might have homework, she may just have other things that could possibly interrupt the flow between the two of you. Now, for instance, those of you that got, you know, kids, you understand, like, your kids wake up, they have to eat breakfast, you got to take them to school, the routine kicks in, and so your phone gets forgotten about, and let alone whether or not that person, you know, decided to call you or not. That is why. Now, she could also be testing you. Now, it could also be somewhat manipulative, as she could just be testing to see if the emotional connection is really there. So if the vibe continues to linger within her without the constant contact, then that's probably what she may want to gauge to see how do you really feel about her. See, because it's like this: if she don't text, will you still be feeling her? See, so it could kind of give you that emotional vibe of, you know, scarcity when it comes to you and how you handle the situation. Now, she doesn't want to seem too available in the first place, especially if she, you know, just met you. She could pull back to balance her energy, you know, to get her focus back, so that way she's not in her emotions and feelings. And she probably just don't want to look like she's doing too much or saying too much, and this could be another reason why she pulls back. Another thing that could occur is that she was unsure about how she was feeling, and things could change from one conversation to the next, and in between, that is the time where she is processing and filtering out the whole situation, especially with her emotions, okay, because they can shift quickly. So she could 1 minute have felt the connection being, you know, strongly, to where in the moment she was cool with it, but then all of a sudden when she slept on it, she's now questioning it. So she can definitely change her mind from yes to no. And this is why a lot of times people, you know, might say that a Pisces is, you know, being wishy-washy. But when it comes to another thing, far as the personal life, she could simply just be dealing with something personal. For all you know, maybe she got a doctor appointment, maybe she got a dental appointment. She could have internal issues, and that could actually disrupt the communication between the both of you. So don't always think it's something, you know, personal against you. It could just be something that she got going on. Remember, I always say it's what you can't see. So it could be related to stress, mood swings, or just, you know, something emotional came up to where maybe it's just simply that time of the month. And see, another thing is she might just want the mystery to stay alive. Maybe she doesn't want to just be predictable in a sense. Maybe she actually does like you. Maybe he actually does like you, to where he doesn't want to lose you, doesn't want to mess it up. See, so that silence could be unintentional, and it can be intriguing at the same time when it's coming from a Pisces. But she also can disappear without realizing it, and that in itself could create curiosity, like what it's doing to you now, if you are you know, feeling somewhat left in the dark about the situation. Now, she could be overwhelmed how good it felt, you know, because some things could be intense. So those could be related to good emotions, and that could be just as intense as the bad ones. But it's like she could have felt that things were too real between the two of you. He could have felt the same if he's a Pisces male, and maybe they just feel like, oh, we need to slow it down, see, because it was moving too fast, or hey, maybe things were getting real too soon, meaning like, hey, we, you know, maybe that was the depth of the conversation. She also could be comparing you to the past experiences. Maybe she dealt, or he dealt with a Pisces before, and basically trying to go back to the drawing board to see the differences. So you got to understand that when a Pisces woman or man pull away, it's not always bad. Sometimes they're just processing their emotions, and sometimes they just need to see like, oh, a comparison versus you from another Pisces. Maybe they had a bad experience with the Pisces. They just want to make sure that last time, okay, I felt like this, but it didn't end well. But hey, this situation seems fresh, so maybe I'll give it a chance. She also could just be distracted easily, as some Pisces oftentimes are, where they could drift into their own world, not and disconnect from reality of whatever it could be routine wise, of calling someone back, getting back to an email, or simply dropping something off. So this could basically be the fact that he or she could just start doing something and forget to follow up with you. It ain't just you, it could just be family, it could be their teacher, it could be anyone. So another thing that oftentimes people forget is that maybe simply she just expects you to reach out, because not always is it logical. You got to understand that if it happens, sometimes it's just like, oh, if a person didn't text, they may feel like, so I won't either, because it goes both ways. She also could be protecting her peace. Maybe she doesn't want to get too attached too fast, too soon, because, her emotions are at hand or at risk, and maybe just pulling back before the emotions deepen or before she gets knee deep in the situation. She also could be simply observing your reaction. So the silence could show who you really are, because more than likely that's what usually happens if you got a facade. So she may just be feeling like, oh, is he going to chase or stay calm in the situation? Now, another thing, she could be juggling multiple priorities. Doing two things at one time, taking the kids to school, work, all, competing for attention, which sometimes your kids may seem to want you more or need you more, in a sense, when you have a significant other or a friend that you may like on your mind. See, so that could be something that could possibly be a situation for it. Now, she could communicate in waves, or he communicate in waves, so it could be all in, and then it could be a whole disappearing act. Then all of a sudden they return, because that's just how the fish moves. Now, it could be, for example, an intense conversation one day, and then all of a sudden it's quiet the next day, but then all of a sudden they run it back later on. So that's why I say you just gotta, you can't be fully occupied on your Pisces. You gotta have a life, in other words. Now, she may simply just be interested, he may simply be interested, but they probably are moving at their own pace. As Pisces oftentimes don't rush into things. They actually research things, study things, process things. They might want to see your Facebook. They might want to read some things. They want to know a little bit more than what meets the eye. So if she, like I say, if he or she just moving at their own pace. And this is why Pisces men and women are oftentimes misunderstood, because it's almost like, dang, she liked me enough to talk to me for this amount of time, but then all of a sudden she can also be detaching and just not rushing the whole connection at the same time. So that's to close this video up. Just because a Pisces goes silent on you, both men and women, that doesn't mean they lost interest, okay? But it could be I say this, but what it could be is that you just gotta wait and see how they come back, so they could tell you everything of what happens. Because sometimes that's what builds the next conversation, so that you guys aren't talking about the same thing or repeating yourself. So like, comment, share, subscribe, you guys. I love y'all. And smash that like button so we could get this video in the algorithm, and become a member if you haven't. And also subscribe to my second channel, Team Pisces, and I'll catch y'all next one. Peace out.